I will be reading My Little Sunflower, which is a short story, a little essay from the 2021-2022 Dundee Crown Literary Arts Magazine. My Little Sunflower. I chose a little sunflower among many. Its little leaves blowing in the wind made my heart light up. I brought it upon myself to help it flourish, protect it. We'd grow it together. The little flower didn't look like much at plain sight. It hadn't grown significantly, and its leaves were slowly becoming a brownish tint. The fallen leaves crunched underneath my feet as I relocated the flower to its own place where the sun was able to shine through its leaves and roots. I wanted it to feel relief and comfort, the comfort of knowing it would be safe with me. I turn my gaze at it and smile. I'll protect you, and in return, when you grow tall and strong, you'll protect me from the sun, all right? I told my little sunflower with a chuckle. I spent my days watering and caring for the flower, and as a result, both my heart and the flower seemed to grow, little by little. I leaned down next to it every night, and under the starry skies, I told it stories about every little bit of myself, from the first thing that I remember about my childhood to the very things that make me feel insecure. It was all so tranquil, so beautiful. One day, on the empty field I'd planted my little sunflower, I noticed I had steadily run out of water for it. I dreaded the thought of not being able to see my efforts drip down from its base, deep into its roots. So, in my desperation, I used the last of the water that I had for myself, and I sprinkled it onto the flower. Regardless of what I was left with, I smiled bittersweetly at my dedication. The dedication to make something of mine grow and improve. For the first time, I didn't tell my flower every little thing about myself. That night, as I looked out my window and counted the stars with my sight, making sure they all felt seen, I wept like I had never wept before. I was frightened at the thought that no longer were my efforts going to be enough to keep my blossom going. I wept also for myself, because I felt some sort of desolation in my core that I did not identify with. So instead of it going to waste, I shakily yet carefully stored my teardrops into a jar, very literally bottling up all of those feelings, to make something thrive, to make something greater. A jar abound by ambition and visions to keep on striving to achieve. In due course, my little sunflower ceased to grow. The teardrops I so carefully watched spill down to moisten the soil grew to have no effect on it. No matter how much I poured, its growth was stagnant. Becoming desperate, I kept on going. The number of times I poured increased. I poured, and I poured, and I poured, with a microscopic amount of hope to get a different outcome. A knot was beginning to form in the depths of my throat, and I wanted to weep. It felt like I had lost 2 parts of myself. I wanted to do anything in my power to make the flower bloom and grow taller than any other blossom. And yet, the complete opposite was in effect. The frustration kept eating away at me like birds eat away at flowers. An internal clash to try and figure out what I was performing incorrectly. I became so engrossed in the muddle of thoughts that I never once recognized when or how I slowly lost the moments I adored the most with my little sunflower. Those stargazing nights slowly became blurred by the ever-constant tears residing in my eyes, blocking me from seeing that I was beginning to lose something vital. A new morning had come once again, and I weakly trudged toward the spot that my flower lay in. Its petals looked bright and nourished in the protective space I built for it, but it never once grew again. It was never able to protect me from the blinding rays of the so beautiful yet taunting sun. I had begun to wilt. Tears no longer flowed. Sitting there, at a loss for words, I pondered the thought of when I had begun to lose myself. I finally accepted the simple fact that I'd been denying myself. I couldn't control how my sunflower grew or changed. Sometimes growth doesn't always happen when you're watching it or when you expect it. In that moment, the invisible roots of memories and love that kept me tied to my little sunflower, drying me up, were cut. I had grown to believe that I came second. I had put all of my efforts into the flower's growth, that my roots were also losing their strength. Growth is a complicated journey, one that may take as little as a few months to as long as a whole lifetime. It's not a pretty one or a happy one all the time, and it doesn't always happen while bound together. Roots lead many different paths, and there's never one single trail. As I cut the roots attaching us, a warm shower came upon us, the first shower that had ever occurred in that field. The melancholic drops hit my face, and no longer could you tell apart my tears from the showering rain. Excuse me there. I let it envelop me, us. I could never stop loving that flower, resting so calmly, enveloped by the warmth of the earth. And with that love in mind, I chose to walk away. It's been a while since I last saw the bright yellow petals that I love so much, but that's all right. It's all right because at times when the wind blows north and there's silence all around, as I stand on a new empty field, I'm able to lay down on the dew-covered grass, and my sheltered eyes can see without squinting while the sun rays shine through the petals of the tallest flower to ever be seen roaming the high skies. My little sunflower.